start with you, if that's all right. Should the BBC be trying to rehabilitate Shamima Begum's reputation?
Absolutely. They totally should be. And you know what? And I will tell you why. Because we, as the public, as a society, sometimes forget that she was just 15 when all of this happened. Because it has been so long and the story has, clearly moved forward, we forget this element of it. And I just feel like the consideration and this empathy is lacking. So I'm genuinely for that. I feel like we need to humanise her again.
OK, I mean, that's quite a strong start. Charlotte Littlewood of the Henry Jackson Society, I'll throw it over to you. The ITV channel, they decided to go for Matt Hancock, didn't they? The BBC appeared to have stumped for Shamima.
Well, I would say I absolutely disagree, and that she should not be rehabilitated or seen as a victim, as it were. By seeing her as a victim, we are feeding into the very narrative that is inducing radicalisation in the first place. And you'll see tomorrow with the Prevent review, William Shawcross being very heavily critical of the way in which the media portrays terrorists as victims. For it is this victim narrative that puts our young people at threat from radicalisation. So this is serving the very risk that we want to tackle.
Bushra, what message does this send out to people who are 15 years old, say, who frankly think, well, I can actually go and join a jihadi death cult somewhere in the Middle East now and maybe sew suicide bombers into suicide vests and I'll just come back to Tower Hamlets after it's all said and done?
This is not really about what message this is going out to 15-year-olds. Actually, it's quite the opposite, because normally 15-year-olds are carrying on with their life and they're doing what teenagers do. And in these extreme cases, you will get individuals that come across these type of people online that are going to exploit them, that because they are vulnerable, they are naive. So this isn't a message 15-year-olds. This is a message to us as a society to say that this is not normal. This isn't the rule. You know what I mean? Like, we have to understand that.
Can I just ask quickly, before I go back to Charlotte, about this question of vulnerability? Is it just her age that for you makes her vulnerable? Because her teacher said that she was predicted to get top grades at school and that she was quite a smart girl, so she doesn't really seem to have any mental vulnerabilities, i.e. she knew what she was doing, no?
OK, right. So, you know what? Obviously, there are different components to this. And when we categorise someone that is vulnerable, there are lots of different elements. It could be her history in terms of family. What was her family dynamics like? What were her friendship circles like? What was she viewing online? This is stuff that we really need to consider. I myself, as a parent, this concerns me as well. This could happen to any one of our daughters, honestly, because of the way that the social climate is with being online. OK. Charlotte, do you want to respond to all of that?
I think seeing her as vulnerable, seeing her as groomed, another word I've seen being used as trafficked, is just hugely insulting to those that were groomed and trafficked by the Islamic State. So I spent this afternoon having a look at some case studies, and I looked at Mazen, an 8-year-old boy who was abducted and trained to shoot Yazidi, his own people, and be complicit in a genocide of his own people. And then Nadia, who was abducted, gang raped, and then sold on various times. And there are 3,000 plus Yazidi women still missing. So I think when we're talking about trafficking, that is the trafficking. And Shamima Begum meticulously sought out a way in which to get to Syria. She even stole jewelry from her own parents to be able to fund her own traffic.
Because she was programmed that way. She was programmed like that to do that.
Can I ask Bushra on that then, Bushra? Why are you so convinced that she was thoroughly, completely and utterly brainwashed? What evidence is there to say that?
I will say that simply because everything points in that direction. Her age, her family, the climate that we live in society where people are Islamophobic. This is, these are all contributing factors. A 15-year-old thinking, OK, what do I need to do? Where is the help for these individuals? Rather than calling her, some kind of criminal or a villain, she is a victim and she belongs to the UK. She is our problem if she is a problem.
Charlotte?
Are we missing something here, though? Are we missing the one thing that really is the risk, and that's the ideology at hand? And she said that she saw beheadings and she was okay with that because she saw it as Islamically ordained. She said that she loved her husband and that she believed in him fighting for his religion. These are ideological issues. This is what we should be focusing on, what we should be tackling on, rather than looking at any other reason, anything else to blame other than the ideology itself.
Just to clarify, Bushra, do you think that, unless I misheard you think that Islamophobia pushed Shamima Begum to leave this country and join ISIS?
I'm not saying that was the sole purpose. I'm saying we have to accept that Islamophobia exists. And I'm telling you, when you ostracize people enough and they don't feel part of a community, they don't feel like they belong anywhere, this is when they become vulnerable to other groups that make them feel like they are welcome. This is serious.
With respect, she lived in Tower Hamlets. Charlotte, go on.
I said, and join a supremacist death cult. The answer to being socially ostracized, to these grievances, which are very real, I completely agree with you. The answer is not to see beheadings and think that that's okay and to go and join a supremacist, racist death cult.
Charlotte, I'll just sit with you on this. I don't know your personal circumstances, don't need to know. You've got a hypothetical 15-year-old daughter for the purposes of this discussion. And your 15-year-old daughter does this. Do you disown her completely, or do you fight for her to return to the UK? Charlotte.
Me, myself, personally?
Yes, yeah.
I think, myself, personally, I would take the risk of society and my responsibility over my daughter and the risk that I may have been a part of creating in that grievance matrix. So I would be very concerned about the society in which she would then be returning to and the risk that I would then be bringing to the UK. So I would be concerned about the laws that we have here, concerned about what we can do to safeguard the UK from her when if she returns.
Sorry,
at the moment,
I'm just going to, honestly,
go on, Bushra.
Honestly, you need to ask a mother that question. Until you're a parent and you don't have a child, you do not know what you would do for them. It's very easy for you to have these theories and this mindset to say you wouldn't do that. It's very different when it's your child in front of you and this is happening to them. So I genuinely believe that that answer from you was not totally honest.
How would you feel, Bushra, if you lost
genocide, though? Complicit in genocide, I find that so hard. If my child had become complicit in genocide, yes, I would have my concern as a mother, but I would then have my responsibility to society as a whole. Complicit in genocide, I don't understand how you can still have an awful lot of sympathy.
Because perhaps she didn't know what she was being complicit to. These are genuine questions.
If you're being really honest about this, though, Bushra, do you not think that Shamima Begum has any blame and culpability for this whatsoever? I mean, at the very least, she's guilty of being extremely thick.
Yeah, totally. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say that she was completely innocent. Perhaps there are elements to this that she didn't know of. The point is that even if she is a problem, even if this is going to be a problem in the future, she's the UK's problem. So we need to bring her back. That's the fair system and have her trialled here and questioned here.
I'm going to finish on that one. with you, Charlotte. Yeah, go on, come back to that.
No, I agree with that. I think that the UK needs to take responsibility for the legal approach to returnees. And I think we're in a shambolic position at the moment with the laws at present. We need to have retrospective laws in which we can then charge people for joining and aiding and abetting terrorist organisations.
So that would be the very, very final word on this, Charlotte, just for some clarity. So you would take the bring her back but then lock her up approach?
Yes, and at the moment, the reason why we've had the approach we've taken is we didn't have the laws in place. So we need to sort out our legal approach to returnees, and then we need to handle the issue.
Look, both of you, thank you very much. What a way to start the show. Fabulous debate and discussion, that. Thank you so much. It's Charlotte Littlewood there, who is now of the Henry Jackson Society, former counter-extremism coordinator and political commentator and founder of anti-racism organisation Run Racism Out. Bushra, Shaikh, both of you, great stuff. Thank you so much.